Good morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, July 25th. Take a look at the past 24 hours. On the lightning side, quite a bit across Nevada. As we were warning yesterday, a lot of the southern part was wet, but did have some drier stuff as you head further north towards the Oregon and Idaho borders. A lot of new fire starts. Here is precipitation here, heaviest across southern areas, lighter amounts in that first shade of blue as you head further north. Initial attack was heavy in the last 24 hours, several dozen new fires, a few large fires. You can see new fires in the red, existing fires in the yellow, large fires in the open circles. Observed precipitation over the past 7 days, very little across much of the area except for far southern and eastern areas, and that same holds true for the last 30 days. And even these heavier amounts here in southern Utah down to the Arizona Strip are below normal for this time of year. Normally it's much heavier with the monsoon, so still fairly dry. We see that with our ERCs. A lot of them in the northern half of our area are in the 80th to 90th percentile. Taking a bit of dive here across central Nevada with some of the recent rainfall, we can see that a little bit more with the 10-hour fuels, which we used to have that dark red shade here of about 2, 3, 4%. You can see how much they've moderated across not just southern but central areas with the most recent push of thunderstorm activity, which turned wet in some spots. Here's a look at the satellite imagery with upper-level maps superimposed, and there's that closed low-pressure area right off the northern California coast. The southerly flow is pushing up that monsoonal moisture. You see it moving from south to north. The drier air on the left-hand side is what we're worried about, where there could be enough dry air to keep the rain from reaching the ground, so we could see some drier lightning still in the outer periphery of this mass of moisture. But deeper into this moist mass, any showers and thunderstorms will be primarily wet. So looking for this afternoon, we still have this trough of low pressure sitting right over the California coast. The southerly flow ahead of it pulling up a bit of subtropical moisture and more shower and thunderstorm activity. The tricky part will be delineating the wet versus the dry. We feel the driest lightning will be on the outer periphery of our northwestern areas up here in northwest Nevada, and also a little bit more up into the mountains of Idaho, but on the eastern side they should be drier. There might be a gap of coverage here, just a few isolated storms at best further to the west. If we look at what we're looking at model and wind-wise, you can see that thunderstorm activity will be highest over the higher terrain, more on the eastern side of the central Idaho mountains. To the west, we may have trouble finding much storm activity, but widespread and wetter showers and thunderstorms across a good portion of Nevada into Utah and down into the Arizona Strip. Wind strongest further to the south where we have fairly moist fuels. Otherwise, winds fairly light in other areas, except in the vicinity, of course, of thunderstorms where brief downdrafts could occur. Now for tomorrow, that trough of low pressure kind of weakens. Thunderstorm activity moves into Idaho. It should start getting a little wetter and start exiting the region. You see our dryness levels on the right. We do not have high risk for anywhere in our area. They still have them in the Pacific Northwest region. And for precipitation, you see that wetter activity with the darker blue shades, which indicates a ½ inch or more of rain pushing to southern Idaho. Wind-wise, again, the strongest winds in our southern areas. Otherwise, winds fairly light in most areas. On Thursday, that trough of low pressure kind of disappears. It broadens out with this upper flow. We see drier air starting to punch on in. We should start drying things out a little bit. And we look at the precipitation on the right-hand side. See that shower and thunderstorm activity exiting eastern Idaho and going into Montana. Winds, nothing too crazy. 12 to 20 mile an hour winds across portions of Nevada. We see the darker shades of green and a little bit stronger here in eastern Idaho. Precipitation over the next 3 days, you can see the across Nevada, the darker shade of green is about 1/4 to a ½ inch to an inch across the mountains of Idaho down to the Arizona Strip, and western Wyoming 1/4 to a ½ inch, and even over 1/4 inch in some of the mountains of Idaho as well. Taking a bit further look down the road on Friday, we have another little trough of low pressure coming in, which will start perhaps bring some more shots of subtropical moisture into the western portion of the Great Basin. There's high risk for lightning here in the Pacific Northwest. We don't see that potential for our area on Friday. You see the dryness levels here starting to recover perhaps just a little bit. However, on Saturday, there may be a bit better push of some thunderstorm activity across the mountains of central Idaho. We'll have to watch that for possible high risk, but right now the features are too subtle. Dryness levels on the right-hand side, no high risk as of yet. And then going down the road for Saturday, actually going down the road for Sunday, you can see that push of deeper subtropical moisture, the monsoon pushing into the southern portions of our area with significant rainfall probably, maybe some thunderstorm activity, mixed wet and dry further in Idaho if this pans out. And then on Monday, that activity shifts eastwards. We start to dry out once again. Precipitation over the entire 7-day period, you can see very similar to the 3-day. Heaviest amounts across the mountains of Utah and onto the Arizona Strip. Lighter amounts as you head further to the west. As for the 8 to 14-day outlook, taking us from August 1st through August 7th, you can see much above normal temperature signal here across at least the western portion of the Great Basin. Monsoon activity still stays prominent, but we stay dry here in the central Idaho, so keep an eye on that. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.